All righty.
We're live.
We are live. Let me get to my notes here. Okay. Hey, everybody. Welcome to our Conservatives Mashup tonight, this Friday evening. We are here on location at our Randall County Republican headquarters, located at 3219 South Commerce. Tonight, we are excited to be hosting two recently announced candidates for Amarillo City Council. Don Tips, place two, and Tom Scherlen, place three. We will have 1 hour to spend with each candidate, and we will begin first with Don Tips, and we will follow immediately after at 8:30 with Tom Scherlen. Before we start, let us take it to the Lord in prayer. Do any one of you guys want to lead us in prayer, or would y'all like me to do it?
I think you got it, Alex.
All right. Dear Father in heaven, we love you, and we are here tonight gathered before you to profess your grandeur and also your delight, Lord Father. We pray for every candidate that is running. We know that it takes a task on themselves and their family, and we just pray that, Lord Father, that you set a light stand before them. In Jesus' mighty name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
So, Conservatives Mashup, we have four conservative groups with our own panels each. Okay, so we have myself, Conservatives of Texas, Alex DeAnda, also known as Precinct 111, which is Precinct 111 here in Randall County. We also have Kelsey Richardson joining me. Thank you, Kelsey, for joining me tonight. And we have Texans Wake Up, Jamie Haynes. She's also a chair for Precinct 309 here in Randall County. And we have Freedom First West Texas, Adrian Avila and Luke Brown. And last but not least, our very own Tim Revelle, our Randall County chair, and he'll be popping on here shortly. I think they're having a few issues there. So, guys, if y'all would just take a moment before we get to Dawn, just to kind of introduce yourselves briefly. Go ahead, Kelsey.
Hi, my name is Kelsey. I am just a concerned citizen here in Amarillo that wants nothing more than my kids to want to grow up and be here. And so I want to make sure that Amarillo thrives both economically and with the Spirit of God in the middle of it all.
Good thing. Good thing. Jamie, go ahead and go next.
Yeah, I'm Jamie Haynes with Texans Wake Up. I'm a concerned citizen as well, and mom in Canyon, and we have a small business in Amarillo. And I've just become really passionate about public education and protecting children, and just feel the call to get more involved in all levels of government.
Thank you, Jamie. Adrian for Freedom West Texas.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, my name is Adrian Avila, Freedom First of West Texas. Our organization was founded to get our youth more politically active. And so we focus on conservative activism, and getting to our youth population. And I'll let Luke speak on that further.
Yeah, sure. I don't have too much to add, but yeah, just for everybody, I'm Luke Brown, Vice President of Freedom First and another co-founder as well. So like Adrian said, we're an organization whose main goal is really to just spread conservatism to the younger population, because especially right now, it seems like with social media and all these different things, we're really seeing a decline in the old school American values and what it really means to be an American. We're kind of seeing that deterioration right now. And so our goal is just to kind of talk about our country, talk about the Constitution, educate those in the youth. And we really believe that when other people in the youth see fellow members of the youth go out and speak, that can help motivate them to go out and fight for what they believe in as well. So, yep, I'm just glad to be here, and I'm just honored to be here with all of these great people.
Absolutely.
Good deal. Let's go over the format real quick. So candidates, they'll have a 2-minute opening and then a 2-minute closing for their statements. Okay. Each group will ask one question at a time, allowing the next group to follow, and then repeat order. So that way we can expedite accordingly across the board. Each panel can assign one representative to ask the question, or they can take turns in the rotation. The candidates will have 1 minute to respond. We may have callers or live participants. We will expedite those accordingly as well in the chat here for the comments over here to the right. So let's get right into it. So here we go. Don, you ready?
I'm ready.
We're so glad to have you tonight. And if you would like to open up with your 2-minute opening, go ahead.
Yeah, first, I want to thank all you guys for what you've done. You stepped up and just the opportunity to come on tonight. So appreciate y'all. My name's Don Tips. I'm much like y'all, concerned citizen. Born and raised in Texas. Born and raised in Amarillo. This is my home. I think that's the main reason that I'm stepping up. I mean, it's time for me to get off the sidelines and make a difference, trying to help our city. Uh, my I'm married. My wife and I, we have a family of 6. We have 3 grandchildren. All of them are here except for one. They've all moved back, which we're very grateful for. We have one married couple that's still in Lubbock, but hopefully eventually they'll get here as well. Put myself through college. I went to AC for 2 years, then finished up at West Texas A&M. Have a bachelor's in business management, and I'm a business owner as well. I've owned my own insurance agency for 22 years, and it's grateful for it as well. Main reason I want to step up and run for place 2 on the council, biggest reason is transparency. A lot of things, but I feel like this needs to be, for the people. Have a spirit of servanthood to say, hey, I'm here actually for the people. Be transparent with what's going on. Set some community standards that reflect our conservative values that from where we are. My big thing is just to preserve Amarillo of what it is and maybe even what it was a little bit ago, to provide a place, for our kids and our grandkids, and just have some good standards morally, to provide just a good, safe environment for our family. Because I feel like that's our citizens here. That's what they are. And I feel like that's exactly what we need to represent as leaders in the city. So several things that I want to do, and I'm sure we'll get into that as well, but just want to provide leadership, have an attitude, like I said, of servanthood, take care of our community, set some standards morally, just help this area prosper in the right way. Let me just clarify that. And I think it's not always based on economics, but it's also based on prosperity in different areas, morality, spirituality. I don't know that we always want all businesses here, but we want the ones that meet our standards.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Thank you for that. What we're going to do on our pecking order is, I'm not too sure, Kelsey, do you have your questions in front of you, or do you want me, because I have them here too. So what we're going to do is we'll ask in order of rotation, one each for each panelist representing the group that they're with. So we'll start with Kelsey or myself, and I'll let you go ahead and go, Kelsey, with your question. Travis, if you have one, we'll go with Travis next, and then Luke or Adrian, and then you, Jamie. Okay? Go ahead, Kelsey.
All right. I'd also like to say thank you for stepping up for our community. It's very important that we have people that are willing to have that mentality of servanthood and not there to, serve themselves or better their business. So I just really appreciate you stepping up. So my first question for you is, do you think that allowing and or funding the LGBT events are an acceptable way to use funds from our tax dollars, knowing that at least 80% of Amarilloans identify as Christian?
Yeah, no, Kelsey, I do not. And I think exactly what you said. I think our tax dollars are representative of our citizens, and the majority of our citizens do not support that. I feel like that the tax dollars need to be spent according to our citizens' beliefs and morality. It's just simply representative. So the short answer to that is no, I do not believe that they should be used for that.
Okay. Adrian or Luke, if you want to go next.
Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mr. Tips, Adrian Avila, Freedom First West Texas, I would like to ask you about the Open Meetings Act. And as a city councilman, I know in the past city council, There'd been a lot of controversy with the handling of the Opens Meeting Act. What actions or steps would you take to ensure that the city council follows strict adherence to that act?
Well, I think it's a good question, Adrian. I think just being a part of the council, I believe that you, since being one of five, that you can certainly enforce those or make sure that the standards are upheld. I do believe in transparency. I feel like, everything that goes on. I think in the previous city council meetings, not much discussion goes on. It's very quick, just seems like the decision's already made. So I feel like what I would like to see in the city council meeting is some discussion, that the public can actually be a part of it, that there'd be no reason to not follow the Open Meetings Act, that everything should be out in the open for the citizens to see, the discussions, the dissension. We discussed that a little bit before. I think healthy dissension is great, as long as our emotions are not in control. People with different opinions have the opportunity to discuss them and then come together with a consensus and vote on, steering Amarillo the way it needs to go. But I think with the Open Records Act, I think it just starts with transparency with the citizens and maybe a changing of the format of the council itself.
Awesome. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Jamie?
Yeah, Jamie Haynes with Texans Wake Up. So, Don, from what I understand, speaking on non-agenda items at a city council meeting is not allowed. Do you feel that this is censorship, and would you be willing to change that rule?
Jamie, not being on the council, obviously it's a little bit different, but I don't know that that's censorship necessarily. I think we've got to balance it with time, right? If we allow non-agenda items to be spoken on all the time and it's open, we've got to be sensitive to the fact of there's some things that we need to get to. I believe that having the 3 minutes, and maybe we can revisit that as well, it does help with that. And I think definitely that the citizens should be able to come up with non-agenda items. That way it's not dictated by the mayor, whoever the mayor may be, is that they get to dictate the agenda and those items only, because there's going to be important items that I feel like the citizens need to bring forward, and that those, in my opinion, should be able to be discussed and be able to use, whether it's 3 minutes or whatever, that they should be able to bring those items up. I think it's better that we can hear from the citizens on items that are off agenda, because there are some things going on that we need to hear what is important to the citizens. And if we don't allow them to speak, then I believe it's a form of censorship if we just dictate the agenda all the time. So I believe that you should be able to speak on non-agenda items.
Thank you.
Thank you. Speaking of our mayor, I went to a forum that was hosted last election cycle that was hosted by our own Freedom First, Luke and Adrian and the others. And I remember the mayor speaking on not wanting to take the position of anarchy and not following the mandate from our Governor Abbott. But yet when he lifted the mandate several months later, she decided to heed the advice of healthcare professionals. And so I thought, well, which is it, And so when it comes to something like that, where your governor sets a mandate and it lays down a process or a precept for even the cities, when she did that, I was a little confused, because I thought, well, either you're going to listen to him or you're not. So when he lifted it, I couldn't understand why she just didn't follow that. I'm not attacking anybody. It's just, do you remember that? I mean, what were your thoughts on that?
Wait, now, Alex, be a little more specific on that. When you said, what mandate are you talking about from Governor Abbott?
Well, during the pandemic, I remember our mayor speaking on following the mask mandate.
Okay.
And going ahead with having businesses have to follow that. And so when he lifted it, she continued on specifying that, okay, so we're going to go ahead and follow healthcare professionals' mandates. Yeah. So what were your thoughts on that?
Well, I disagreed with it for sure. I wasn't a fan of the mask mandates anyway. I think that there was some grace given up at first when this pandemic. We've never been hit with a pandemic, ever before. So doing what we thought was good at first, is fine. And then, again, there's some grace there. Once we figured out and followed the science of that and decided, that really wasn't helping, reduce the spread. And, governor lifted that, which I was super grateful for that they were doing that. Wasn't happy that the city, required the mask mandates for small businesses and to, follow that mandate at all. So was not happy with that at all. I didn't agree with it. So no, yeah. As a small business, in my opinion, if you have a small business or large business for that matter, you should be able to choose for yourself and your employees, and deal with those issues as they come. I mean, that's why we live in America, is we have the ability to choose for ourselves and make those decisions. And if that's the decision you make as an employer, then you deal with your employee issues. If they disagree, you can deal with it there.
Thank you. Tim, our county chair, is on. Can you hear us okay, Tim? Okay. Adrian or Luke, if you want to ask the next question.
Yeah, sure. I'll go ahead. So I just want to know, we saw a lot of controversy around how our city handled the Civic Center bond and all in that controversy. And I just kind of want to know, had you have been in that position, how would you, although, it was the entire city council and it's limited as to what one person can do, I just wanted to know if you were in that position during that bond and as all those as they were bringing those items up and debating on that, how would you have handled it differently if you had been on the city council at that time?
Oh, great question. Actually, I was at the meeting when they voted on that, and I did step up and speak to that to the council. Also met with our mayor 3 days after that to discuss the same situation. So the way I would have handled it, and the way our current mayor, she did ask, she's like, well, Don, what would you have done differently? And my answer was, I would have educated the public. I would have educated our citizens. I would have, I was against what was being done. I don't think it was forthright. I don't think there was any transparency involved. Obviously, the trial showed everything that happened to even allow this, the anticipation notice to be used. There's a lot of things going on that were in the mix to allow that to go on. So what I would have done differently is simply debated, made my opposition to the issue known. Again, transparency. I would have wanted the citizens to know. Probably would have published something myself to let everybody know where I stood, and that I stood with the citizens, knowing that they voted twice and shut that down. Would have also done my best to show why it didn't work. And it unfortunately, the timing of that thing, there was really no way to do it. It was dumped on them late Thursday night. Even the existing city council members, there's no way that you could research that and find out. So the timing of it was very difficult. Not to say that the majority, the 4-0 or the 4-1 vote would have changed anyway. But I believe I agreed with Councilman Cole Stanley to table it for a couple of weeks and really be able to research it, be able to let the public know what's going on and that type of deal. But I certainly would have opposed it, would have stood up to my beliefs and really represented the citizens and what they'd already spoken twice. I would have objected to it.
Thank you. Jamie, you have another question?
You bet. I just want to stop for a second and just applaud Adrian and Luke. I think it's amazing that we have conservative youth that are so active in our community, and they're so well spoken. I thought both of their questions were excellent, and I just applaud both of you guys. I'll also point out that Luke, I saw last night, he is serving his community excuse me, on the SHAC, the School Health Advisory Council, which is a very important committee within a school district. And he did a fantastic job last night, bringing up some great points. So, kudos to you.
Great job.
Thank you guys both.
I couldn't agree more. I love seeing you guys educate the youth and bring them up. an educated voter is the best voter, and we appreciate you guys trying to get the youth to open their eyes a little bit.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Okay. I got another question here. Do you feel, because you guys know I'm super passionate about protecting children, so do you feel that sexually explicit literature should be accessible to minors in the children's section of our city public libraries? And do you feel that requiring parental consent for minors to check out sexually explicit materials would be a good idea?
I don't have to think a lot about that, Jamie, but no, not at all. That is one thing that I want to take care of. I do not believe that sexually explicit books, even regardless, talking about gender fluidity, any of that needs to be accessible to anybody below 18. I think that should be put, if it's allowed in the library, which we're all about, First Amendment rights. So, though we may disagree with that stuff, we can't necessarily censor it. But I think it needs to be put in an area of the library or any portion that it should be an 18 and over area. Then it should be policed. I mean, it should be very heavily watched to make sure that those materials are not seen by that. I believe, a lot of it is pornography, whether it's written or it's visual. And it just doesn't, our youth does not need to be exposed to that in any way. It doesn't even need to be there, if they picked it up accidentally. And your next question was, what was the second question, Jamie?
Do you feel that requiring parental consent for minors to access some of these materials would be a great idea?
Yeah, 100%. If a parent chooses to get that, again, maybe I may disagree with that, but yes, I absolutely do believe that the parents do have the rights to decide what their kids are exposed to. It shouldn't be a school. It shouldn't be a teacher. It shouldn't be a library. It shouldn't be somebody reading at a library. It should be the parents that say yes or no to that. And again, whether I agree with that, with their decision or not, it's not up to me, but I think that would be the first step in limiting exposure or even accidental exposure to our children.
All righty, Kelsey.
Let me see. I have so many, and a couple of them already asked. I think it's better to take care of what we have rather than replacing everything. That's what fiscally responsible conservatives would do. Do you think that we should do a better job maintaining our current public amenities like our parks and our pools that we already have?
100%. I think there's ways in our budget to find money for those. I don't think that we need to start over. I think we can use the money and the funds that we have to improve on those, improve safety, improve lighting, make the places a great place for families to come and they can enjoy. And, they just need to be well taken care of and safe. I think safety is a big deal. And in safety, I mean, even the equipment that's there, can be updated. The safety with the lighting, the walks, all of that. So yes, to answer your question, yes, I believe that we should keep what we have and improve on those. I think it's crazy to throw away what we already have and establish parks, establish areas. Our kids and our grandkids, I mean, that's what they know is parks. So no, I don't think that we should waste the money. I think it's way more fiscally responsible to use what we have and improve on those.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Dr. Revelle, our Randall County Chair, do you have a question for Mr. Tips?
Yeah, it was along that same line about the parks. I guess the thing is that we have to give the young kids, high school age, something to do, as it gets dark, and because that's the time when they get into trouble. And so if we can establish different, things that they can do at the parks during the evening, it would settle a lot of the problems that we're having with the kids that get into trouble. Is there anything that you think along that line that would help?
Boy, that's a good question for the adult, or I guess the older children, the teenagers, and the ones that are driving. That's a great question. I don't have anything offhand, but I would be open to look at it and see, and then judge, on funding and whatever that we could come up with. But I don't offhand. I don't, and I apologize that I don't know anything. That would be an example for those older kids. I agree with you. There needs to be something that would hold their attention, a place that they could do and congregate instead of getting into trouble. But at this point, I don't know what that would be, just being honest. But I'm totally open to suggestions. I would love to hear from the citizens to say, hey, what are your ideas? Or even hear from the youth. To say, what would y'all like? What would be appropriate? What would you want to see? Whether we can do that or not, up to the budget, but we can absolutely see what would they want? What are their requests? Because as they age into voting citizens as well, I want to hear from them. So great question, and I would love to look at it.
Yeah, the other thing that I would like to ask, what is the chance, or what is the plan for putting some schools in the Northeast? Because the kids have to get up early to be bused to other schools, and then they get home late at night. And there doesn't seem to be enough time for them to do their schoolwork and have any after school playtime.
Yeah, I think that's definitely something that should be looked at. The schools are based on, kind of a per capita, where the growth is and where the population is. I think that's something definitely to be looked at, because I think it should be, equal for everybody. I don't necessarily think that the kids in the north, part of Amarillo, that it's fair that they would have to be bused. And like you said, they're losing, time in the mornings, they're losing, time in the evenings to do the things that, kids want to do. There's only so many hours of daylight. So I'm completely open to look at that and see, and really I think we have enough people on staff right now with the city that we could take a look at the numbers and again see what makes sense to make that possible, make it feasible. If it makes sense, I think it's a great idea, and it should be that way.
Luke or Adrian?
And another thing is that I think that they're splitting the kids up in the same neighborhood, and so they are busing them to different schools, and you've got to have some cohesiveness in the within a few blocks of where the kids live, so that they get to know the other kids in their neighborhood, so that they don't run into trouble later on.
Right. And I think, that's an issue for the school board to look at as well. That I think that would be an issue that needs to be brought to them to take a look at. I couldn't agree with you more on the issues involved with it, for sure. I'm not super educated in this yet on the school, but I definitely think that that's a school board issue to take a look at as far as the schooling and the busing and that type deal.
Thank you, Tim. Luke or Adrian, do y'all have another question?
Sure. Do you want to ask one, or? Yeah, I think I'll let Adrian. I just asked one. I think we're trading off.
No, that's okay.
Yeah, you can go ahead and ask one, or you can come sit down. It's whatever. We can go ahead another chair.
Yeah. Hey, I think we're good. Sorry, we ran into technical problems, so we had to kind of adjust.
Here, I'll go grab another chair.
No, okay.
Just go ahead and sit down.
Thanks. Awesome. Yeah.
Oops, sorry. Should be good.
Yeah, you're gonna have to
Right,
excuse
go
us.
ahead. Yeah,
We'll
I'll go
Rocky.
chair, so.
Yeah, well, Mr. Tips, again, thank you for your time. Adrian Avila, I wanted to ask, in terms of whenever we speak of development projects for the city, are we, in the ideology to either, sorry, excuse me.
Hey, you're good.
Right, good deal. Yeah. Are we in the mindset and ideology of, restoration and repairs, or are we kind of in the mindset of, building new infrastructures and building kind of new projects and taking those projects on? So kind of, again, that ideology, restoration or, rebuilding new from scratch.
Yeah. Now, I can't speak necessarily the ideology of what's going on now because it's not me. I can tell you, if elected, I can tell you what my feel is on it.
Right.
So I would
Right.
tell you, I think it's crucial that we maintain and get our current infrastructure updated to where it needs to be. I think that's crucial to any city before we focus on growing and bringing new in and doing these things, that we have to take care of the old. Like, we have to make sure that the current infrastructure is up to standards to where it needs to be before we go, breaking down the door to go bring all this new in and all this growth. So my ideology, what am I saying? Messed up, is to take care of what we have right now, get it up to standards before, not to say that we're going to ignore that either, right? We need growth and we need for Amarillo to prosper. We want that growth. But I think priority is to get what we have now up to where it needs to be.
All righty.
Awesome. Great. Thank you.
Jamie?
Okay, I'm gonna throw you an easy one here. What strength do you believe that you could bring to the council?
Well, I've already mentioned, transparency, hopefully leadership. I do believe in, independence, just being independent minded and not being dictated to by any outside sources other than the citizens, right? To listen to the citizens. But I think the biggest one is transparency, just to be honest, listen to the citizens, discussion, open discussion, leadership. I believe leadership in the council, not saying there's lacking leadership, but I think being independent and being transparent, I think, are two solid characteristics that we need on the council. And we talked about this before, not everybody that agrees, or not that everybody's in agreement, but someone that's independent enough to say and bold enough to stand up for what's right or what they believe is right for the city, but also being able to sit and listen not only to the citizens, but the other council members as well, to listen to the issues at hand and any issues that anybody has, make an educated vote, and then move from there.
Excellent.
So, what are some pros and cons that you can take from the previous folks that are, running the city and whatnot? What are some things that you see as the pros and the cons as of the last set of folks so far?
Well, I mean, obviously, I think one of the big glaring cons right now is listening to the citizens. With the Civic Center issue, I think that was a big one. There's been a few, but also the transparency. I believe either Adrian or Luke brought up, the Open Records Act. I mean, I believe that we're lacking transparency right now. I believe that groupthink has occurred on our current council. I think that's easy to see when we have so many 4-1 votes. That there's a block of 4 that typically vote together. I think that's a con. I think that we can improve by getting individuals in there, like I said, that are independent, that are bold enough to stand up for what they feel and go ahead and discuss those issues. The pros, I mean, I'm not going to say the current council, they've done a lot of good things for Amarillo. I mean, it's not easy, right? I mean, it's not easy to run the city. I'm not going to sit back and say that it is, and gosh, it's all been bad. It hasn't. I mean, they've done a good job. We have a great place to live. Amarillo's phenomenal. My wife and I travel, and we always come back and say that we love home. We love our people. Like, there's no place like Amarillo and the people of Amarillo. So they've done a lot of good things. So that I think definitely the infrastructure needs to be attended to. I think the parks, the roads, safety. I think I can't remember which one of you brought it up, but maintaining our civil servants. I mean, we need to take care of our civil servants, our first responders. Again, and I think Kelsey, maybe it was you that brought up the parks of do we start new or do we do what we have? Very much the same thing with all of our civil servants and first responders. We got to take care of those guys. It's way better to take care of those guys and those people that are helping us than hire new ones. So I think there's a lot of things that can be improved on that I feel like may have been neglected. Funds have been funneled a different way, and I think that they could be funded on the things that we have now, and not focused on, I don't know, maybe things that don't seem to be as important to the citizens as maybe a small group of people.
Right. Looking at the budget for 22-23, it looks like it was set at around $419 million. And I think it was an increase of $71 million. Being a business owner, we really have to rely on our own push, on our own advancement and progress as a business. What are some things that you can apply in being a business owner to meeting that budget year in and year out?
Okay, what'd you say? I'm sorry, it cut out for a sec.
Okay. Well, our budget right now for 22-23 is set at $419 million, which is a $71 million increase. Being a business owner like yourself, what are you going to bring to the table in meeting those numbers, meeting and balancing a budget year in and year out?
Well, I mean, as we all know, I mean, it's crucial. We don't want to look like the administration that we have now, in Washington, where we just get a debt ceiling, continue to be raised. We don't have that luxury, nor do I think we need it. I think that the budget needs to be looked at. I think that in the past, I believe there's been some pork, if you want to call it that has been in the budget. I think the city can run more efficiently. I think that we have a lot of staff there that can do some more things. I'm not asking that they expand what they do, but I think with trash or with some of the hot issues that have happened, I think we have people in place that can give us good knowledge. They've got a lot more knowledge than most to address certain issues and to come up with a plan to stay within the budget. I mean, I just think it needs to be looked at and worked more efficiently. The city I believe can run more efficiently. I believe that, again, it's crucial. Like you said, as a business owner, we don't have the luxury to overspend and just go above and beyond the money that's coming in, like the Civic Center, the anticipation notes and that kind of thing. So no. Let's not use the credit card. Let's go ahead and see what we have, stay within the budget, prioritize what we need, listen to the citizens, and focus on that and use the money wisely.
Thank you. Luke or Adrian?
Yeah, I had a question, if that's okay.
Of course.
So one of the, the biggest roles or jobs of our grassroots organizations, Conservative Texas, Freedom First, Texans Wake Up, is really to increase the voter turnout. And I know especially in the local city elections is where we see a really awful problem with voter turnout. Sometimes only 10,000 voters casting their votes in the city council elections. So I just want to know, what role would you be able to play as an elected official to encourage and promote and increase voter turnout in our local elections here in Amarillo?
Wow. Well, I couldn't agree with you more. I think Alex and I talked about this before. I think educating the voters and having an educated voter is the very best thing in the world, right? We don't want people to just show up and just cast a ballot, but we want them educated, right? But you're correct. I mean, these citywide elections, there's very poor voter turnout. I think the biggest thing is doing exactly what you guys are doing, is going out, educating the public, letting them know how important it is. I truly believe in voting, but especially in the local elections. I mean, your vote has that much more power in the local elections. And I think we just need to do a better job of letting the citizens know that. Now, as far as you ask, what would I do as an elected official to help with that? Gosh, I wish I had an answer. I mean, I don't have an answer for that other than, we can't go and pick people up. I guess we do buses and say, hey, let's go vote, I guess, something like that. But I don't know of a way to get people motivated. I'm hoping to see a bigger turnout this May than we've seen in the past elections. And I think we will, just simply because of the hot topics of the Civic Center and the issues that have been going on in the city. I think we will see a big turnout. That's my hope. I hope that we turn out. But I don't really have an answer for you. I mean, I just have to be honest. I would love to see it, but I don't know what we could do to get them out. I mean, run a campaign, and I don't know. We got to look at the budget and say, is there money in the budget to focus on voters getting out? I think it may be more up to the individual groups, to really encourage. I mean, like you guys encourage 18 years old, and older to get out there and vote, make their voice heard. The civic organizations to really push to say, hey, these are issues that are important to you. Let's get out and make a difference. Let's talk to the candidates, a forum just like this to say, hey, ask whatever you want. Find out who you want to vote for. Unfortunately, it's just difficult to make people care. I mean, which I think all of us right now sitting on this forum, we all know that. I think we all believe very strongly in some issues. And we just want to scream at people sometimes to say, hey, you care about this, come on. And they're like, I do, but not a lot's being done. So, man, I wish I had an answer for you as far as how to. I wish I had an answer. If somebody has an answer, I'd love for them to speak up and say, this is what we need to do. But I think it starts with grassroots, talking, educating, and getting the word out to just go vote.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you. We do have a call-in question. We'll ask that right after Jamie's next question. Go ahead, Jamie.
Yeah. To the point of communication and transparency, I know I tried to reach out to the mayor in 2022, and I wasn't able to meet with her. She told me it would be the 2023 before we could get together. So that was over 30 days out. And I realized that the council and the mayor can't meet with every single person in Amarillo. So would you be open, and some of the other council members, to maybe having town halls in our community scheduled out ever so once in a while, so that the citizens would have an opportunity in a controlled forum, but where there was an open mic where we could ask you questions, because we get to meet you so much before you get elected, but I feel like after, as issues arise, that's when we need those open channels of communication. So would town halls be something that you'd be willing to look at?
Yeah, Jamie, I would absolutely look at that. And we discussed this a little bit too before, is, that's what the city council meetings are for. You ask if we could speak on open agenda items. The problem with that is not everybody can get off, right? I mean, depending on what time the city council meeting is, people would love to speak up, but they can't get there. I would be completely open to looking at an open town hall meetings, and set them, and everybody's gracious in that. Everyone's, sensitive of, time, for everybody. Everybody want family is most important, I think, in our society. And I think that we need to support that. But I also think that stepping up as an elected official, that you do need to make yourself open. But I would be completely open to looking at an open town hall to allow those people that work during the normal hours of the council meetings to be able to come with their concerns. So yes, I would absolutely be open to looking at that.
Thank you.
One thing we would like to offer is precinct chairs. Jamie's in the 309. I'm in the 111. Travis is in the 110. And maybe what we could do, Jamie, is go out into our communities and see if we can't get 50 or 60 people that would be interested, and then find a venue, and then try to schedule something, 3 weeks out, and get with our council folks. Because, I mean, that's where it's at. It's in the grassroots. And I think if we could bring out plenty of folks to be interested and be charged, it might kill two birds with one stone. We would get to interact, and also we could increase voter turnout, as Luke brought up just a moment ago. So I think as precinct chairs, it's very important that we lobby those things in our community. And I know you're full on in on that, Jamie. And so it's something that maybe you and I could discuss and get that done.
I think that's a great idea, and I think you're right. That's exactly where it starts is with guys like you to say, hey, we'll devote the time and we'll help educate, we'll help get this thing so that it works. And I think that's what you guys are doing. So we really appreciate that.
You're very welcome. The call-in question, it's a little broad. I think that you're astute enough to kind of make sense of it here. And it's not a dig at Derek or anything like that. It's just, I think when Travis was typed it in, he just put the basic info. It says Derek asks, he addressed the basic infrastructure in parks, roads, and safety. So I'm guessing he's asking about the potholes and things like that. Maybe the Southwest Park softball fields and whatnot. So if you can address that.
Yeah. Again, I think that goes back to a question earlier about, well, I think we've addressed almost all these, but as far as the part, the roads are a big deal, right? We all feel that. And I think that goes back to, do we continue to develop, are we going to focus on what's our ideology? Wait, why can I say that word?
It's a tongue twister.
Anyway,
Yeah.
Do we focus on the growth and all this new, or do we focus on what we have? Well, it's both, right? We've got to focus on what we have now. So the roads, we got to look at the budget and say, okay, so where are we right now, and what do we need? So I think all of that needs to be taken care of, because it's a reflection on anybody that comes to Amarillo, right? Our roads are terrible. It's just a bad reflection, and there's no part of town that needs to be neglected, right? I mean, every part of our city needs to be up to standards. The parks, the same way that we talked about before. If there's things for the older kids that we need, but if standards are down at the parks, we need to maintain those. And Alex, you said at Southwest, the ball fields and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
We need to have things that a city our size, when we look around the state, say, okay, what does everybody else have? I mean, not that they're all the standard, but we need to see what they have and say, okay, we need to get our standard up. We need to provide good facilities for our citizens, for the public rec and, for those things. And I think they all go hand in hand, safety as well. So as we do these things, it's not like we just do them and we don't maintain them and we don't keep a look over them. I think it all goes hand in hand. I think that's a big part of the budget that needs to go to these things, because these are the things that the roads we use every day. The parks hopefully are being used, and certainly if they're attractive and they're well kept and we have things that they're going to be used more. It's just a thing with a city of our size. These all need to be excellent. Every one of these needs to be excellent. We need to be able to have the resources to put towards those to get them where they need to be.
Yes, sir, of course. Thank you. Kelsey, do you have another question handy?
Yes, I do.
Yes, ma'am.
This one's kind of tough, so just bear with me, okay? Why do we need to fly let me start over. Why do we need to fly the Ukrainian flag? And will you make a commitment to take a stand for what is right for Amarillo, for that matter, the American dream? Or do you feel that it's more important to be politically correct?
Well, I don't think it's more important ever to be politically correct. And that's one thing that as you see me or hear me, you will find out that I'm about truth. I'm not about being politically correct. I may step on some toes, but I will be honest, and I will not be necessarily politically correct, but I'll do it in love as well. Not harsh or abrasive at all. I am extremely patriotic. I do feel for the Ukrainian people. That doesn't mean that I'm for the Ukrainian government. To answer your question, yes, I would absolutely take a stand. That is something that I will not waver on at all. There's very few issues. I don't think there'll be any issue that I waver on at all. I will always take a stand one way or the other. Not going to say it's always black and white, but with me, it's most of the time it's black and white. There might be a few gray areas in certain issues, but this isn't one that I believe is a gray area.
Thank you, Kelsey. Tim, you have one?
Yes. One of the things that, going to some of the things that Jamie had talked about, is meetings. One of the things I think would be very helpful, is that if you picked one night during the month and you could have 4 different meetings in different sections of town and have each one of the people on that are going to be voted on, after they get elected, to go to a specific place each month and rotate that so that the people that are in the Northeast or the Northwest or the South, would get to know who they're intimately, and be able to question the people that are actually running the government. And I would offer, we have 3,200 square feet at the office. And I would, I think, get with my executive council and offer the building for, somebody to come once a month to just talk with the public.
Yeah. I just, like I told Jamie, I'm completely open to that. I'm all about transparency. I think that if you are going to offer that as a council member or the mayor, I think that does hold you accountable a little bit when you're going to stand before the citizens and let them ask the questions, about why did you vote this way or why did you vote that way? I think that's healthy, and I'm completely open to looking at that.
The question from earlier, we kind of got a clarification from our caller, Derek Johnston. It says here, how would you get back to basics and away from pet projects, mainly trash and public safety and the city, a grimy infrastructure?
Okay, so I guess we'll break that down. So how do we get back to basics with the trash?
Yes. I think they got back to it, but go ahead.
Okay, well, I think getting back to the basics with trash, honestly, I think it's a logistical issue. And I think when we went with the trash service, when it went down to, one time a week, I think that really showed us a lot. I mean, I think there's some areas that don't need to be picked up twice a week. And I think there's some areas that definitely do. And I think it's a logistical thing. And like I told you before, as far as the city becoming more efficient, we asked the people that are doing the job to say, hey, what are you seeing out there? I think there's a way more efficient way to do, maybe not everything, but some things. But getting back to basics of, let's do it the way we have been. Let's do the 2 times a week, but let's look at that. And maybe there's places, and I can tell you, I'll be honest. I mean, there's, our office is one of them. It gets dumped twice a week and it doesn't need it. We're never full. So that just shows me and again, that's an office complex and it's not necessarily a residential area, which residential is mainly what we're going to focus on, but efficiency is efficiency. And if we can free up those employees to not do that, if we could cut their load in half, some of them, well, my gosh, that puts where we can put that manpower elsewhere. Right. So I think getting back to basics, yes, we can do that to go back to two times a week and maintain that, but is that necessarily the best thing? And I think that's what I'm talking about as far as we need to take a look at all of that. We need to take a look at that and say, is that the most efficient way to do it? And then what else? Derek asked something else, the trash, and then what else?
He was saying public safety.
Okay, public safety as far as just in general, just how to get back to basics?
Yeah, that's what I'm guessing. That's all I have here, so.
Okay.
I'm guessing is our police force, is it fully staffed? I mean, how are we looking there?
So we went and talked to the chief, and at that time, now this has been a few months ago, so these numbers may not be accurate, but I think they were looking to fill 30 positions. I believe it's important, like I said, to get those, to fill those positions, but we have to make that an attractive position, for citizens to take. And so we have to look at, and it's all the way across the board for all first responders, I think, is we need to be able to pay a fair wage for what they're doing. We need to look at the rest of the state and say, okay, are we in a fair spot? Are we looking at that? Because again, to Kelsey's statement before, it's way better to have use what we have and maintain and keep those, in this case, keep those individuals here versus retraining, or bringing in new recruits. So I think we need to make sure that these guys, and our crime statistics have been up. If you look at it, I think we were 22nd on a list of the criminal statistics in the state, and that's not great. I'm not in the state, in the nation. And I think we just need to. A part of it is we have to have the right number of police officers in place to be able to patrol and do the things. I mean, and again, back to the parks. We're going to pour money into the parks and put money into the parks. We need to make sure they're safe as well. So getting back to basics is, let's just get that standard back up where it needs to be, and let's maintain it and have a polished police force, have some pride, let them have pride in what they do, and just bring that back.
Yes, of course. Thank you. One last question. Luke or Adrian, if you guys would like to have that.
Yeah, absolutely. Or Mr. Abel, did you have one?
No.
Oh,
Go ahead.
okay. Yeah. Well, I think this is maybe probably a good last question then, and it has to do in broad. We've spoken a lot of various different issues, and I want to ask you, if elected, what are your priorities? And if you would, list them from, most pressing, down the list.
Okay. Well, I think most pressing, that's tough. I mean, it's tough to think. I think we need to develop some standards for our city, some morality standards of what represents our citizens. I think that's important. So that we have a vision of like, what do we want Amarillo to look like? And I think if we don't have a vision, we know that people will perish. So we want a vision. Say what are those standards? And I think that goes to a lot of issues that we talked about tonight. With whether it's the schools or the libraries and the material and that kind of thing. We have to decide what we will allow in our city. And I think that's probably a main point for me. I think transparency is a big deal. That I think that as an elected official, I believe we need to be transparent to the citizens. We'll go back to, of the people, by the people, and for the people. I think that's where we need to be. I don't know that that's where we've been. I think that the elected officials need to be a representative of the citizens of the city. So I think transparency is a big deal. And I think that, the infrastructure, building the infrastructure, keeping the infrastructure up for the city. I think that's very important. But I think more, if we look at those things, if we look at those three things, I think those are probably my top three to make sure. And I think, with the top two, I think would direct where a lot of other issues come. That's an easy way to go back and say, well, let's look back at that. Let's look at back. Where are our standards? What do we want for the city? What do we want? Prosperous growth. I do want the city to grow as a small business person. I want the city to be easier to deal with. I want businesses to be able to operate and it not be so difficult. So there's lots of little things in there, but again, it goes back to what standards do we want for the city? We look at those, we set those, and say this is what we want Amarillo to look like. So then this is an easy way to make this decision.
Well, Don, thank you for taking the time out to spend a Friday evening with us. At this point, we're going to give you your 2-minute closing. And then after that, you can sound off. And then we have a couple of announcements here from Jamie and maybe Tim and myself. And again, I really appreciate you taking the time. Tell your family we appreciate them. And here's your 2 minutes.
Okay. Alex, can I jump in here
Yes.
before it gets rolling? Hey, and just to
Yes.
that point, I just want to say not only thank you to you, but I want to say thank you to your wife. I have not got a chance to meet her yet, but I mean, we know that this is not just you. This is something that y'all do together, and something that's going to take away from family time. And your devotion to the community and stepping out. I just want to thank her and applaud her for
Yes, of course.
supporting you in all that you do, because we know that's critical in the family unit. So thank you both, really.
Yeah. Well, thank you. She appreciates that because it is big. It's a big thing. So she's right here, and so she's very grateful. So thank you, Jamie.
We see an arm.
Yeah. Well, guys, first, thank you guys again for doing this. Again, every one of you in the area that you reach, I really do appreciate y'all. And it's because of people like y'all that we will have educated voters, and hopefully that we will have people wake up. So I appreciate that. Again, my name is Don Tips, running for place 2 for the Amarillo City Council. Born and raised here. I'm an Amarillo native, and I'm Amarillo proud. I love this place. My brother who moved off thinks I'm nuts, and I get to hear that all the time. But I stand firm. This is where we decide to live. We love it. We would choose this already. We have a big family. We have grandkids. This is where they've chosen to live. I'm here to protect Amarillo. I'm here to make Amarillo what it is. I mean, I want to protect our conservative values, protect our morality. I believe we are in a very strategic place, both geographically and I think spiritually. We're in a great place, and I think Amarillo is going to be a strategic place in the times to come. So, a vote for me is going to be a vote for Amarillo. It's going to be a vote for the citizens. It's going to be a vote for the people that love Amarillo. This isn't a stepping stone for me. This is something that I believe in. It is a sacrifice, but it is one that we're willing to take to step up and do the right thing. And again, vote for me for transparency, for morality, and for Amarillo to be prosperous. So I'm asking for your vote in May for City Council Place 2.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's Don Tips. Keep him in your prayers. And we're sending off with Mr. Tips. Please stay plugged in. We are going to be joining Tom Scherlen for Place 3 here at 8:30. We do have a couple of announcements. Mr. Tips, thank you again for your time. Tell your wife thank you and your family the same.
Will do. Thank y'all very much.
Thanks, Don.
Good night.
Good night. All righty, guys. I think that went great. We're still live. So, I don't know why it says that. Oh, no. Yeah, we're still live. We're still moving. Jamie, you said that you have an announcement that you wanted to kind of put out there. So go ahead.
Yeah, selfless self-promotion right here. But I just want to let the community know that we are organizing some speakers to come into town once a month throughout this year, hopefully. And we already have some lined up that are just focusing on public education policy in Texas. And excited about the people that we have coming. We had a great crew actually last Friday night. And so if you're interested in that, in learning and getting yourself educated about what's going on, particularly it's exciting time right now with the next legislative session already in progress, and interested in bills and just from A to Z education. If you'll go to texanswakeup.com/events, you can see what we have coming. We've got something actually right there at the Randall County headquarters on Thursday, February 16th. We have Lynn Davenport and Mary Lowe with Families Engaged for Effective Education, and I'm co-hosting that with your group, Alex, Conservatives of Texas. I'm so grateful for that, and I'm grateful for the Randall County Republican Party hosting that. And then we'll actually have the same two speakers the next day in Canyon on the square. That would be Friday, February 17th for lunch, a lunch and learn. So great opportunity there. Then we'll have another speaker on the Amplify curriculum in the month of March. But yeah, check out Texans Wake Up /events. And I'd also like to mention that we actually have a link on there that goes to a blog that has a list of not every, but almost every conservative group's meetings throughout the year. So whether you want to come to the Randall County parties meetings, whether they want to come to your meetings, Alex, Conservatives for Texas, We also have the Potter County Republican Party meetings. That's a mouthful. And then also Beverly Bailey's group, Conservative Patriots for Texas. So again, just have all those meetings lined out, as well as the school board meetings. And again, all that's at texanswakeup.com/events. So there's plenty of opportunity to get plugged in and to get involved with the conservative community in Amarillo and Canyon.
All righty. Thank you, Jamie. Tim, did you have any announcements?
Yeah, just this is one for Jamie too, is the fact that we've been invited to go down to Austin on the 6th and 7th of next month and go around and talk to different legislators about school choice and school problems. And so myself and Travis and Adrian are going down. I have grandchildren that are being homeschooled. And of course, Adrian is doing homeschooling. And so we're trying to get a balanced, I guess, a balanced group to go and to talk with the legislators.
All right. Sounds good. Well, listen, guys, it still shows that we're moving here, but I'm looking at the other site here, and I don't know what's going on there, but I still have it on the YouTube and whatnot. What we're going to do now is we'll go ahead and end this broadcast, and I'll send you another link, and then we'll get Tom on here. Okay, guys? Hey, thank y'all. Y'all stay close to your emails. We'll see y'all.
Thanks.
Great.
You're welcome.
Thanks. Yeah, got it.